Hello, welcome to When the Smoke Clears. I am the Recovery Plug. What's happening, everybody? I hope you guys are doing good today. I know my day has been going pretty good. Last couple of days have been all right, kind of getting a little rest and then doing some, some studying. You know what I mean? Some good reading. Just studying some things that I've been wanting to kind of tap into and that sort of thing. But nonetheless, last few days been pretty good. And so at any rate, if you would, again, you know how I like to do my videos, man. I always like to start them out with a moment of silence followed by serenity prayer for the addict who still suffers, and for those of us who are still bound down to some sort of struggle in this toxic world that we live in. You know what I mean? So yeah, if you would, please join me in a moment of silence. God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, courage to change the things I can, wisdom to know the difference. All right, man. Well, now that we got that done, well, check this out, man. I wanted to, I've been doing a lot of studying, been doing a lot of reading, watching some good documentaries. This is just a lot of stuff, right? And when I do that, I kind of I feel like I'm juggling subjects, and I feel like I got a lot of input, a lot of insight, but I don't know what I wanted to share, right? So the thing that I do personally in my own spiritual journey is that I meditate and I pray during my meditation and try to get clarity in the things that I want to discuss, right? And things that I feel that the energies of the divine matrix is asking me to talk about. You know what I mean? To share. That I feel that somebody needs to hear something that I have to say, right? And that's why I meditate on it. And this morning I meditated for a good while. It took me about almost an hour of meditation to figure out what I was going to talk about today. You know what I mean? So, but it's good. You know what I mean? It's good. It's good for me because I get that clarity, man, and I feel that it's beneficial, right? Not only for myself, but beneficial for somebody out there who needs to hear the message. And well, today what I wanted to talk about is the part of recovery, I guess, a part of being addicted to something, and what I mean by the part is the doing something. You know what I mean? The action part of that, and I read. I picked up something that I read from what's his name? Waldo Emerson's book, The Compensation. And mind you, this book of Waldo Emerson he wrote this book like in the 1800s. I believe it was like 1841. I believe is that what it was. And in that book, he speaks. The first part of that book talks a lot about the laws of polarity. In other words, the laws of when I say the law of polarity, that is law of action and reaction. You know what I mean? It's the law of do and don't. It's the law is if it's dark, if there's dark, there's going to be light somewhere. You know what I mean? If something's pulling, then something's pushing. And there's a part in that book that I wanted to just kind of tap into that little bit. That I'm gonna get these glasses off so I can read it to you. And there's a part in that book that says, let me see if I can pull it up here. Give me just 1 second. And it's, I believe in, it's like I said again, the book of Ralph Waldo Emerson, the book is called Compensation. And this is coming off of page 21. And it says in just a little paragraph that it says, a couple of sentences, and it says, the law of nature is, do the thing and you shall have the power. But they who do not the thing have not the power. And let me say that again. The law of nature is, do the thing and you shall have the power. But they who do not the thing have not the power. And when I read that, that to me was like, it really made sense to me. It really made sense to me. It was like clarity in a sense to the fact of, if something is bounding you down, if you're struggling with something, no matter what it is, if you don't do something, then you allow that particular thing to have power. You know what I mean? And when I read that in that book, man, it really hit home for me. It brought me straight to my addiction. It brought me straight to my recovery. Brought me straight to the path of, if you do nothing, then nothing happens. You know what I mean? And when it said that about the power, that if you do nothing, then the power, you don't have that power. You know what I mean? And the power is in that adversity. The power is in that addiction. The power is in that stronghold. You know what I'm saying? So I personally, it really got me to thinking, and I was like, man, you know what? I can remember in when I was in the dark world of addiction, that I can remember not having the power. You know what I mean? I can remember both. I can remember the early days of addiction when I thought I had the power, because being addicted or being held down by some sort of stronghold, some sort of adversity, can blind you, man. It can blind you into thinking that you are the man, that you are the woman, that you got it, that this is the way. You know, there's a fine line there, that it's a fine line of deceit, if you will. And if you're not careful, you're gonna hit that tripwire, and you're not gonna be able to see it. And man, will you be in a world of, you know what, if you hit that tripwire. You know what I mean? A lot of, you know, when I mean tripwire, it's like, you know how it is when you see the movies of war and stuff like that, and there's just this little wire that's going across the field there, and a soldier hits it. Next thing you know, he blows up, and body parts all over the place. Well, see, that's the same thing in life. If you are not careful, you will have that deceit, and that fine line of deceit that a lot of addicts and a lot of people who are dealing with adversity feel like they have control. And that's that line. That's that tripwire. And when you hit that thing, man, next thing you know, and it can happen fast or it can happen with due time. But next thing you know, the limbs of your life are just scattered everywhere, and you don't know what to do about it. You're looking around like, wow, what the heck? How did this happen? Because you thought you had control at one point in time of your life. You know what I mean? At one point in time in your life, that stronghold was it was the medication. It was the solution to this problem that you were having. It was a solution to dealing with that adversity, right? Whether it was emotionally, physically, whatever. You had to do this one thing so that you wouldn't feel another thing. You know what I mean? And that goes back to, like I said, the laws of polarity. If you're doing something, you're affecting something. You know what I mean? If you're taking something, you're giving something. If you're giving something, you're taking something, and or you're losing something. You know what I mean? So it is it's a fine line. It's something that a lot of people who deal with adversity, a lot of people who are dealing with addiction, like in my case, a lot of people who are dealing with PTSD, childhood traumatic experiences, depression, like me. I've dealt with all of those things, and there's that fine line of deceit. That okay, if I do this, if I smoke this stuff, then I'll be okay. I don't feel what I'm feeling when I'm not dealing with that emotional roller coaster of childhood traumatic experiences that comes up in my dreams, that comes up in just, you know, if I hear a song, watch a movie or something. You know what I mean? I don't have to deal with those feelings that come up fresh like if it just happened yesterday. If I just smoke this stuff, if I just drink this stuff, whatever it is, you know what I mean? And that's that fine line of deceit. That is that fine line of deceit that tells you, hey, you know what? You got this, man. You're under control. You're cool. You know what I mean? It's okay just to do it one more time. And that is the place that those are the things that you want to recognize. And the only way to recognize those things is like in that book, Waldo Emerson's book, The Compensation, that in that one, let me pull that back up real quick just to, you know, just to read it to you one more time. And it is, pull that up one more time right here. And it says, the law of nature is, do the thing and you shall have the power, but they who do not the thing have not the power. So, you know, going back to that, you know, if you do nothing about that, then you're going to stay in that, you're going to stay in that deceitful place. You're going to stay in that, you know, repetitiveness of something telling you, hey, you know what, you're all right, you got this. You can keep doing it. You know what I mean? It's better to feel this. It's better to not feel it and do what we're doing right now than to deal with it. Because it's just easier. It's like, you know what, let me just sweep it under the rug. Let me put it in the closet. Let me not deal with those feelings. Let me not deal with that issue. Let me not deal with that person. Let me not deal with that thing. And when you do that, guess what? You get deeper into that thing. You get deeper into that misery. You get deeper into that, you know, room that the walls just are closing in. The light gets dimmer and dimmer. And next thing you know, it's just pitch dark and you can't find a way out. You know what I mean? Next thing you know, you're in this whirlwind of this hole that just keeps getting deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper. And the light above you just keeps getting smaller and smaller and smaller and smaller until you can't see it anymore. It's still there, it still exists, but you can't see it because you're so deceived by the things that you're doing, by the things that you're telling yourself that, hey man, you know what, you're good, you got this. But at the same time, during that whole process, you're still feeling this void, you're still feeling this thing that's heavy, that's weighing you, that's just not allowing you to move which way, you know, one way or the other. You know what I mean? When you're moving and you're walking, you feel still this resistance. And it's not until you start doing something, you know, until you start doing something. And when you start doing something, I don't care what it is, if you start doing something, just one small thing at a time, you start busting out of that stuff, man. You start swimming back up to the surface. You know what I mean? You're able to breathe a little bit better, day in, day out. You know what I mean? One day after the next. Next thing you know, you're able to just take this deep breath of fresh air. And it's like, wow, man, where has that been? You know what I mean? And I can honestly tell you that today, man, I can take a deep breath and really just be mindful of it and enjoy just that sense of breathing. To me, like breathing pure, breathing, love, breathing beauty, breathing just, something that makes sense, something that is not dark. You know what I mean? And I can remember when I was in that addiction, man, that I thought I had control. I thought that the things that I was doing were good enough for me to stay afloat, were not hurting anybody until, I can remember the transformation of myself by actually dissecting my situation in a sense, and it just really sitting down one day and just kind of looking at my life in a sense and saying, okay, wow, man, you're here now. This is where you're at. And things aren't good. You know what I mean? I could feel myself unhealthy. I could feel myself just in that bowl, in that puddle, just going deeper and deeper. I was just sinking, and I needed air, man. I had to come up for air, and I just didn't know how to do it. I had lost control. I no longer was in that deceitful place. The deceit wasn't there anymore, that it seemed so real. You know what I mean? And everything seemed like, okay, wow, I'm actually in this. And this is where I wind up. And for a good part of the last year, when I was in that situation, the last year felt like I had given up in a sense. Not that I had given up on living, but that I had given up on how I was living in a sense. Like I wasn't doing anything anymore to try to better my life at that point. I'm not like, at this point, I'm just, okay, well, it is what it is, and I'm content. Now I'm like, okay, well, I'm okay with it now. That means that I'm just dealing with the misery, dealing with the depression, dealing with the sadness, dealing with the anger, dealing with the addiction, dealing with the nightmares, dealing with the PTSD, dealing with the childhood traumatic experiences. This is just how my life is. And just one day it just hit me. You know what I mean? Just one day it just hit me, and for some people it happens like that. One day it just hits you, and something wakes you up. And for me, it was just something that was emotionally and mentally a wake-up call, just one day. And that one day I just decided, I was like, I have to walk out of here. I got to get out of this place. And I did. That particular day, I decided that I got to do something. And since that day, since that thought process, and whatever made me think of that entered my subconscious mind, I in turn there had an action, and I haven't looked back since. You know what I mean? My life has changed in a dramatic way that it's I love my life right now. I'm happy. You know what I mean? I'm happy. I feel content. I feel like I'm doing something, that is worthy. I feel like I'm not only feeling good for myself, but feeling good for anybody that comes in contact with me. I feel like I'm connected to this divine spiritual energy. And I'm enjoying it. I like doing what I'm doing right now. And I got a lot of things that I do. You know what I mean? I replaced, let's just say this, I replaced a lot of the negative things that I did before, the things that were dark and fearful and not of good karmic energy. I've replaced all of that with spiritual and positive and of good karmic energy. Just a total transformation, right? And I'm doing things today that allow me to do that, allow me to feel like that, allow me to help somebody, not only myself. And it's a great feeling, you know what I mean? It's a great feeling. It's a great thing to do that. And I'm excited for how my life's going. I'm excited for what's coming. You know what I mean? I don't know what's coming, but I'm excited for it because I what I do know is that studying and researching things about these spiritual way of living and things like the laws of polarity and that sort of thing, the hermetic laws and stuff like that. It allows you to understand that, just like it says in the Bible, treat people how you want to be treated. That is the law of polarity. If you treat somebody good, then guess what? Good's going to come to you. If you're putting out that energy of good, divine, and spiritual energy that you're radiating out into the world, and then guess what? I finally highly doubtful that you're going to be getting something negative back when you do that. I don't believe that that's true. I believe that if I put out just this divine spiritual energy that I feel connected to, if I've spread that out to the things that I do, to the things that I talk about, to the things that I interact with throughout my day, with things that I do, like, I'll just throw this out there. For example, today, my day consisted of going to a music therapy group and playing music and sharing with other people. You know what I mean? Sharing positive vibes with somebody else, and in turn, there's them sharing their positive vibes. So when you're in a room with people who are on that same journey, wanting the positiveness, the wanting those good karmic energies, and also wanting to share that, man, that the room will seem euphoric in a sense. You know what I mean? And how amazing and how beautiful is that you can get that euphoric feeling from doing things like that. When I used to get the euphoric feeling from being in an addiction, you know what I mean? And that here's the weird part is that euphoric feeling in the addiction was it didn't feel present. It felt that I was looking for it all the time. You know what I mean? I knew what it felt like, but it just never felt. I just never, the more I would do, it just felt like it was the further and further away, and I couldn't grab it. But when I'm doing things in this way, in this spiritual sense, in this good love and karmic energy, and spreading that out and also tapping into a community that is doing the same thing and wants the same thing, now you're not only tapping that out and you're not only expressing it out in your words and your actions, you're also receiving it from other beings that have that same energy. You know what I mean? And when that happens, man, that is something that is present in that moment, in that right here and the right now. And there's nothing more real than that. You know what I mean? There's nothing more real and more energetic and more just spiritual than that. You know what I mean? Because it's all in that moment. It's not something that you're, trying to get from the past or from the future. You know what I mean? It's something that to me is energy at work the way it's supposed to be. You know what I mean? I believe that right there is how the energy manifests into something, into this light, into this grand thing. You know what I mean? That's just my take on it. You know what I mean? That's just how I feel about it. You know what I mean? People can interpret that however they want, but it's beautiful when you're in a room with people, with like-minded people who want that same thing that you want and who are expressing the same thing that you're expressing. You know what I mean? And in a good and spiritual and good karmic divine way. You know what I mean? When it's like that, wow, it's just it's just beautiful to be a part of something like that. You know what I mean? And that's why I enjoy going to these things that I do and incorporating those types of things in my journey today. You know what I mean? And I feel that when I go to peer support groups, when I attend an AA meeting, or I'll attend an NA meeting, or I'll go to my music therapy group, or I'll go to this other event that I go to down at the library. It's a creative collective night that they have there at the Central Library downtown, and it is just people who want to express themselves in that type of way. And when you're around people like that, who it's just beautiful. You know what I mean? Because if you put yourself in situations like that, then good things are going to happen. You know what I mean? Great things will happen for you. And that's just my belief. You know what I mean? That's just my belief. And it's just my experience. You know what I mean? Because I have also put myself in those dark and fearful, things. You know what I mean? And I know that there's nothing good that comes out of that, but more fearful and dark and, evil stuff. And it's just not good. And so the further you steer clear of that world, then obviously you're the world. You can make your world what you want. You know what I mean? And that's the thing, is that you and I have that ability to make our world what we want it to be. And because we have that ability, we can roadmap our life how we want, and it all starts with how your mental thought process is. You know what I mean? So anyway, I just wanted to kind of throw that out there today. You know what I mean? It's just some food for thought, or something that I thought maybe somebody could use. And I like reading Ralph Waldo Emerson's things. He writes some pretty good books, man. And even though that book was written in 1841, that book has a lot of information in it that still work in today's world. You know what I mean? To me, I like when I read things that are written so long ago that in today's world it still fits the content. You know what I mean? The content of what they were writing then still fits in the framework of today's life. You know what I mean? But in that spiritual sense, you know what I'm saying? So it's just part of that thing that I believe that the energy of the divine, man, it is something that is always going to be there. It's something that I believe that we're supposed to just tap into as human beings. That's our nature. That's where we come from, and I believe that that's why we have to stay in tune so that we can go back to that when it's time. You know what I mean? And we don't have to float out here in the darkness, for a while until, until some entity scoops us up that's supposed to. You know what I mean? That's just my thoughts. So, but anyway, man, I really appreciate you guys watching my videos, dude. I really, really do. Thank you very much for watching. I tell you what, if you would please hit that subscribe button, man, and hit the bell, give me a thumbs up, shoot me a comment. I greatly appreciate it. And if you guys would like me to talk about anything else, man, just shoot a comment and let me know. My videos are open to anything, man. I like to talk about a lot of things. So, but at any rate, if you would please just share my channel, and I really thank you. And just know that when you do that, when you do hit that subscribe button, man, it doesn't cost you a thing, and you will be helping out another veteran, another homeless person, another person dealing with PTSD, childhood traumatic experiences, drug addiction, alcoholism, anger issues, depression, sadness, all of those things, suicidal thoughts, man, all of those things, because I, my friends, have dealt with all of those things at one point in time in my life. And guess what, man? I know a way out, and my way out could be your way out. So I guess until the next time on When the Smoke Clears, I am the Recovery Plug.